Happy New Year's, everyone. Today we're going to be taking this knife that went through a horrific fire and restoring it with a new handle. Here's the details. So I mentioned this knife back a couple videos back, but I made this knife probably around 25 years ago. It was back when I was using a hard stamp. It's still there. And I pretty much did a rope style file work on every knife I made back then. And I put chawls on them, sharpening chawls. I don't do that anymore unless they ask for them. I hate them, but that's personal preference. But clip point style hunting knife, pattern that I hardly make anymore, but I still have it. This is ATS 34 stainless, which is very hard to get now. But I really loved it. I use AEBL now for pretty much all of my stainless knives. 4/16 stainless bolsters. But this knife went through a fire and it burned the handle off and tarnished it up pretty good. And the remarkable thing is the blade is still hard. So I tested it out and there's nothing wrong with the edge. It's still, this edge was ground down to around 20 thousandths, probably a little less, and it's still holding the edge somewhat. It was probably, had been used quite a bit. The guy that bought it did a lot of hunting, and he brought it to me and asked me if I could put another handle on it, another set of scales, and but he wanted to keep all of this tarnish. He wants that, kind of in remembrance. It tarnished it pretty good. So, but I still will have to get on the bolsters a little bit when I start shaping the handles. But I'm gonna put a new set on there. We're gonna try to make this thing like new again, put a good edge back on it, and build a sheath, because the knife was in the sheath and that done a lot of this tarnishing too. So we've got some handles picked out. I gotta do some cleaning in here, make sure I can get fit up here. When I ground these bolsters, back then, I don't know what angle I had, but now I use 45. I'll grind some test pieces and before I grind the main handles and get this thing going. So first thing I'm going to do is clean this up, get over to the grinder, grind a test piece, and start making some handles. So I got this piece of my Carter that I'm doing a test grind on just to see where this angle is falling out on the bolsters. I'll test fit it and then adjust this with shims to get the right fit. I'll stick it in the knife, test it out. So let's see if I can hold this piece. I might have to get a bigger piece, but I'm greedy. All right, I'm pretty happy with the fit up, matching those old dovetails. So now what I'm gonna do, of course, I got it clamped here. I'm gonna go over and drill my holes. I'm gonna go in here with 2 3/16 and a 1/4 inch thong hole. And these will all be stainless hardware, but I'll get these two drilled out and the thong hole, then I will clamp the other one on and come back through the other side to drill this one out. So a little bit more about these dovetails. And when I was cutting them, yes, I was running way too fast. This is a very oily wood, but it's very durable is why I'm using it. But you want to run slow anytime you're finishing wood. I cut these and then I come back and clean up that little burnt oil area on my disc sander. Just bump it to and clean them up, and it's not hurt. But in general, you want to run slow when working wood and finishing your handles. Good sharp belts and run slow. So let's get these drilled. All right, I've got everything laid out here ready for glue up. I have cleaned the pins and they are grooved along the center, just slight grooves. That epoxy will get in there and just help prevent them from trying to back out if they ever do. I've never had a problem with them. One of these pins is an old mosaic pin I made several years ago. I think it's one of two I've got left. I'm pretty sure the original had one. I don't have a photo of it, but we're going to go with it. So let's get some epoxy mixed up. I'm just using 30-minute epoxy. And I'm just going to put clamps on here with just a little pressure, not overdo it. I don't want to squeeze all the epoxy out. And I'll put one right here on the end. That's why I let them run long. All right, we'll let that dry and we'll finish it out. All right, our handles have been glued up for 24 hours. The thing I want to do now is go ahead and profile it to shape, and then I'm gonna come in here and put some lines on here, some reference lines, and start shaping the handle. And remember, fresh belt, run slow. That way you don't burn your handle. All right, with the profiling done, now I'm going to move on to softening everything out, rounding everything over, and I'm going to be using slack belt. One thing to remember, especially when you have large diameter pins, use good sharp belts and run slow, because you don't want to create dips or divots on each side of the pin. You want to cut that metal as much as you're cutting the wood. I'm a little proud here at the bolsters. So I got to take that slack belt and cut down to the bolsters. I'm going to be cleaning up these bolsters. I won't be able to save the tarnished look as much as I'd like, but not really much I can do about it unless I did some bolt-on handles, and then you know you kind of got to leave the tang proud of the handles and all that. I don't like doing that. And some of this stuff, you know, I'll be getting in with slack belt. It's best to use some scalloped 1-inch wide belts like these here. I don't have any, but I'll be able to do it without them. But these work very well for getting in these finger grooves, getting everything nice and smooth, and you can get in there and work them. But we're going to make do with these belts. I'll move all the way up to about 600 grit, and then I'll do a little hand finishing from there. it could use a little more tuning, but I think we're finished for now. I tried to leave as much of the tarnish on there. That's what he wanted. You know, just left it on the bolsters and everywhere I could. I got it down looking nice against the bolsters and come out pretty good. Yeah, pretty awesome project to get to go back and look at some of your very first knives, really. I mean, I'd only been making knives about 5 years, maybe, when I made this knife, because I can't remember exactly when, but fun project. But I hope you got something out of it. I'd like to thank my patrons. I'd like to thank you for watching.